We begin our report on Capitol Hill. House Republicans are moving forward with their impeachment investigation of President Biden. The House voted along party lines to formalize investigations that have been ongoing for the last year. That work has yet to turn up evidence that the president has committed a high crime or misdemeanor, but Republicans say new tools will help them dig deeper. The GOP-led Oversight Committee was hoping to question the president's son, Hunter, Wednesday, but the younger Biden refused to comply with a subpoena seeking his testimony behind closed doors. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane breaks down the events.
A party line vote tonight.
The resolution is adopted.
Will launch another attempt to impeach a U.S. president. Republicans approved a formal impeachment inquiry alleging President Biden might have benefited from his son's foreign business dealings and has stonewalled them.
What are you scared of? What facts do you not want to come out?
Democrats blasted the move.
They've been at it for so long, and of course Donald Trump wants to keep it going into the next year for the campaign season.
You think Trump's directing this?
Oh, completely.
The launching of a formal impeachment inquiry gives Republicans more firepower and better legal standing to issue subpoenas.
Does this end anywhere short of impeachment articles?
I don't think so, and
it's inevitable.
I think it is.
Ahead of the vote, a House committee subpoenaed the president's son for a closed-door deposition. Hunter Biden declined.
I'm here today to acknowledge that I've made mistakes in my life and wasted opportunities and privileges I was afforded.
Saying he'd only testify in a public hearing. Speaking before cameras at the Capitol, he described the depths of his drug addiction.
During my battle with addiction, my parents were there for me. They literally saved my life.
And he defended his father.
There's no evidence to support the allegations that my father was financially involved in my business.
By snubbing the committee, House Republicans today recommended Hunter Biden be investigated for a contempt of Congress criminal charge.
They belittled my recovery, and they have tried to dehumanize me, all to embarrass and damage my father, who has devoted his entire public life to service.
And Scott MacFarlane joins me now from Capitol Hill. Scott, usually in impeachment trials, there's evidence, and then the question becomes, does it rise to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors? In this case, it seems there is a search for evidence. So what are the House Republicans hoping that a formal inquiry will give them that these informal investigations have not given them?
They think this inquiry gives them a stronger foundation to conduct the investigation, gives them more legal standing to issue subpoenas and do interviews and do the things they want to do. But you've hit on the biggest criticism from Democrats who say, you've had time, you haven't found anything. And Jamie Raskin, from whom you just heard, who led the second impeachment trial of Donald Trump, said, this isn't so much a whodunit, it's a what is it? They haven't even spelled out a crime, he says, that they're investigating. And he says that makes this unnecessary and detrimental. He would water down what impeachment is, a rarely used tool in American history. And here we are, John. This is the third one launched in just the past 4 years.
What do you make, Scott, of the timing of this? I mean, you and I have been talking about various things that they've got to deal with the White House and work things out, and now there's an impeachment vote. How do you put the timing of this vote in the mix of all the things Congress has to do?
Oh, there's an upside and a downside. Let's start with the downside. This is a bad look for some number of Americans who'd rather Congress instead fund Ukraine or avoid a government shutdown, which is painful for millions of Americans first. They put that on the to-do list, and they have a short period of time to finish it, yet they authorize the impeachment inquiry. The potential upside, there are some hard-line Freedom Caucus Republican members who have been salivating for this. They've wanted this badly, and Republican leaders will need their votes to keep the government open, to fund Ukraine, to approve border security law. This may satisfy them, or this may cue up their votes on harder votes in their minds down the road.
We'll see if that's the case in January. On the final question, Scott, in terms of the Hunter Biden part of the story, what are the next steps in terms of this question of contempt efforts to hold him in contempt for not testifying in the way they would like him to?
Now, let's go back in the history books 2 whole years to the January 6th Select Committee. There were a number of people who snubbed that committee, who the committee recommended the House approve to be recommended for criminal prosecution. So there's a process. The House would have to approve a recommendation to the Department of Justice to prosecute for contempt of Congress. The Department of Justice did that for some of the January 6 witnesses, but not all of them, and not sitting members of Congress in that context.
Scott MacFarlane on Capitol Hill. Thank you, Scott.